All righty, I want you to open your Bible to 1 Corinthians 15. And I want to look at some verses here. 1 Corinthians 15. I forgot to tell y'all, Bruce called and said to tell everybody that he could not be here. He was kind of under the weather. So anyway. Okay, 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and several verses I want to look at. And I've been talking about the soul, which is the image of God. That's been a theme and title I've been on now for several weeks. The soul, which is the image of God. And when I say God, I'm talking about Elohim, so I'm talking about the astrological wheel. So I'm talking about the energies that create us, that we aren't separate from them, that we are them. It's just like we were talking about, we aren't separate from each other, we are vitally connected to each other. And that's just it's a fact, but it's not a recognizable fact, because we just think I'm in my world and I'm going down my path in my world, not knowing that my world's affecting your world and your world's affecting my world, because we are all on this together.
That's kind of what he was talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And the things you do actually affects other people.
Right. Yeah, and they do. We don't recognize that. And then the whole idea, I started sharing things years and years ago about the freedom of us from the religious bondages. And I said, that freedom don't give you the right or the excuse to destroy your life through addictions or other things. It's sort of like people, and I'm not condemning people. I am a people, so I'm guilty of the same thing. Take my freedom, as Paul said, to the point that I use my freedom as a cloak of my own bondage. So I get myself bound up in my freedom and destroy myself as a result of that. And it's so easy. It's such a conundrum, not a contradiction, but such a conundrum. And that's paradox, same thing. Paradox. The paradox. Am I free to do anything? Yes, you are. That's the truth. But does everything and anything that you're going to do enhance your life or destroy your life? That's where you need to really look at it and define and really get serious about the results. See what happened. What's the consequences? Okay, look at this passage of Scripture. I'm reading out the King James. If you have some different translations, I would like to hear from them. Has everybody got a King James? Yeah. Y'all are all King Jamesers, ain't you? Well, I would like to see what this...
It's the only one that's the real...
It's the real Bible, ain't it? Yeah. Oh, wow.
What would be another good one, and I'll go get one?
There is another real good one.
Okay.
They're all kind of warped and twisted from the same ideology from the King James, to be honest with you, from the King James. That's a lot of things went awry, but also a lot
Go
of
back
things.
to the 60s and get a good news for modern man.
Yeah. That was a joke, by the way. That was
a hippie version of
That was a
King
joke.
James.
Yeah. Look at verse 40, 1 Corinthians 15, and this chapter in 1 Corinthians has been butchered, deleted, added, twisted, changed, etc., from its original script and its text. And the reason it's all that is because of the Roman Church and the Church of the Nicene Council of 326, i.e., in other words, the Catholic Church. It has done everything it can to promote historicity rather than the original ideas and concepts of all ancient materials, no matter whether they were, quote, called Christian material pre-326 or Hebrew or any other material. All the material back then were both basically mythological, allegorical, typological, etc., etc. They were telling the fabulous story of how you are God manifest in a physical body. And that's a hard pill to swallow and not necessarily an easy story to tell. But nevertheless, it's just the way it is. And we have that creative ability as God because we are as God is. And Scripture certainly tells us that. But look at this verse of Scripture. Verse 40, it says, "There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. The reason I asked if there was another translation was because I wanted to see if anybody had a translation that would say something different than celestial. I wanted to see if anybody had one that would say heavenly.
Well, in the side notes it says heavenly.
But your side note does say heavenly. Well,
And earthly. One of them says earthly.
actually, the word here is used heavenly, heavens in the Greek. And you could actually go back in the Old Testament and use the same word in Hebrew, but it would be Elohim. And so, what is Elohim? Elohim, when you look at it from its real root, you would realize it's the astrological wheel of powers, as I constantly put on the board. And I want to continue to do that because it's saying something. It's getting us to redefine this term, because it's hard to redefine the Word of God. I mean, you know, that one's just almost a dead end. How do you redefine the Word of God? You could call it power, and you could kind of halfway agree with that and say, well, yeah, God is all powerful. Or you could use essence, or you can use source. There's so many different words you can use. But if you use the astrological wheel of powers, in other words, you say it is all. Oh, it is all. Look out. Look up. Look in. Look anywhere. And that's all. So when I'm referring to Elohim as the astrological wheel of powers, I am referring to the entire expanse of the universe as we see it from this perspective. But that's not even a tip of the iceberg as far as all it is, because it goes beyond our universe, right? I mean, you know, it goes beyond that. It's just mind-boggling, beyond the comprehension of the mind. So this word celestial, actually in the Greek here, this would be epiremus. And now there's a new term, and I like this term. Steve was talking about his genetics. If people would begin to really pay a lot of attention to Bruce Lipton, read Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief. Bruce Lipton coined the word something like 30-something years ago when the scientific community laughed at him and totally rejected it. And he said, it's not genetic. He said, none of your problems are genetic. He said, none of your problems have anything to do with your parents, your mother, your father. It has more to do with epigenetics. So actually what they did when they used that word, and now then that is a very common word, and now then a part of quantum science is beginning to embrace the idea of epigenetics and said, we have to rewrite all of our textbook, we have to rewrite all of the science, have to rewrite all of the biology, because it's all built on false precepts. So now then that is a struggle that the entire educational and scientific community is really grappling with, how we're going to rewrite all this stuff. Because we've been locked into this for 150 years or so, thinking that this has been the truth that we're all believing. But this word epi-Uranus, that's where they get the word epigenetics, which actually means that your genes are not controlled from the parents, but your genes are controlled from the environment that you're in. What's the environment? It's everything around you that's input to you. Because now they have come to realize that your brain is not just this thing that's in here, in the skull. Your brain is connected to your skin. And so actually your skin becomes the biggest organ that represents your brain. And it's directly connected. And you know, the more that we get into understanding that, and when I use the word soul, I kind of use the word soul synonymous with mind, because your mind is not your brain. Your mind is in everything and everywhere. And so many times I would use the word soul synonymous with mind, but not saying it's the brain. The brain is an organ, just like the heart, kidneys, bladders, etc. So this word epiranus here, with that Greek root epi, which actually just simply means above or beyond or without. Now then, the word epigenetics, they said, if you want to see what's going on with the gene, then look at the surroundings. Pay attention to the environment. And you get to thinking about that, if you really get to chewing on that, then you begin to realize, wow, there could be something great in that truth, because that begins to influence the genes, and then they begin to respond accordingly. So this word epiranus, just hearing epi-Uranus, it means above or the sky or the heavenly bodies. So what would that be? You could call it the zodiac. I mean, if you said the zodiac, what are you referring to? You know, a lot of people say, oh, you're talking about the zoo in the sky. And that's true, but there's really not a zoo out there. There are stars that people have connected the dots of those stars to create a way of mapping or a way of recognizing certain clusters or certain locations. And in doing that, they called it the astrological wheel. Well, the Hebrews did the same thing. And they have many, many illustrations of doing this for us, but we don't pay that much attention to it. If you're looking at Jesus and the 12 apostles, that's the same story as the sun traveling with the 12 astrological signs. Or if you look at Jacob and the 12 sons, identical, the same story again, the sun traveling with its 12 offspring or children. So anybody can see that if they would just pay attention, but we don't. I don't, many times we just kind of let it slip away. So let's just see this verse again. And there are also astrological bodies and bodies terrestrial. The reason the body that's terrestrial or earthly, I guess you may have a translation that would say earthly there. That's what it would really mean, terrestrial, from the terrain, earthly. So I think that every one of us would be clear in saying, I know that I am a heavenly body and an earthly body. Or you could say it another way, I know that I am a spirit body and a physical body. I know that I am heavenly and I am earthly. And we are that. We're both at the same time. Not just one part of the time and not just the other part of the time, but we're both that all the time.
So when Revelation tells us that we are kings and priests, that's exactly what it's saying.
Yes.
I am a
covering both
I
aspects.
have the authority, because I am natural, I have the authority in the natural and the spiritual.
Mhm.
I have the authority in everything, and I am everything. I am both those items.
Right. And it's not enough to just grasp these things or grapple with these things as far as revelation. That's not any good. They have to become manifestations. They have to become a lifestyle. They have to become things that I own, and not just own them. I do them. I am them. I'm being them. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where we get down to really living life. I mean, it's not this, that the day is not going to be a down day or an up day. Every day is going to be that day. It could be cloud covered, and it could be bright sunshine. But every day, and I need to own that day, period. That would be our part. My part is for me to own my day. That's my part. And your part will be the same thing. Not just to have a revelation or have a truth or say a truth and not be it and do it. What is that? I mean, what have I got? I haven't got anything. I've only got it when I become it. And that's a part of it. We can say, oh yeah, I am as God is. That is the truth. Are we living as God is? And see, that's the difference. Where am I putting my talk to my walk? You understand what I'm saying? That's the difference. I mean, that is a huge difference. It doesn't matter if we come here and we're just a very small group and we have the greatest revelations in the whole world and we don't practice it. We're no different than anybody else. We're being exactly the same thing. So it's a matter of let's exercising it. Let's become it. Let's clothe ourselves in it. So verse 40, there are astrological bodies and there are earthly bodies. The glory of the astrological is one and the glory of the earthly is another. I just kind of changed the words. So verse 49, drop down to verse 49. As we have borne, and that word actually born in Greek is phoreo, and it actually just simply means to wear just like you do clothing. Now I want you to hear that. I mean, it says, as we wear the image of the earthly. How do we do that? We do it with our skin. And we think our skin is me. I look in the mirror and I see the reflection of me, and because my skin seems to give off this image, then that's exactly what I think I am. But notice what it says, as I put on like clothing, the image of the earthly, it says, we shall also, that's a corruption. Anybody can look this up, even in Strong's Concordance you can look this up, and you'll find, actually it doesn't say we shall also, it says let us. Now then here is the thing, to let just simply means give yourself the permission now to put on the clothing of your heavenly or your astrological being. Now you remember we've been talking about this quite a bit, and so I've got to put the astrological wheel on the board so that we can talk about it. And the cardinal cross, and you know, something I was chewing on, I was meditating on the cardinal cross. The cardinal cross are the equinoctial points, both in spring and fall, and the longest day, June the 21st, and the shortest day, December the 21st. That makes up the cardinal points. And most all of the ancient mythologies and stories are hung on this cardinal cross. That's why you'll see a circle and a cross, whether it's on the top of a steeple, whether it's in the roof of a cathedral, or over the door of a temple or sanctuary. That's the most common thing. And you can go in what the Christian church called us to call pagan temples or pagan. You're going to see the same cross. Why? Because it's the same thing. It's the same astrological wheel. It's the same energy of power. And so, but here's something that I was thinking about that I feel I'm going to stir in it some more. That is the universal cardinal cross. What would my personal cardinal cross do? And so here's what I got to thinking about when I was looking at this idea and thinking about my personal cardinal cross. I was born on February the 19th. And you have to put your date in here. So that means that my father planted the seed in my mother on May, around the 21st. I mean, that's just a simple fact. All you have to do is count back 40 weeks, 280 days. You're going to nail it. Boom. I mean, you know, you're going to get it closer than a doctor can get it, because it's just a simple fact. That's the number of days, that's the number of months you gestate, period. It takes 40 weeks to grow you. That's how long it took God to build you. And so I got to thinking about that, and I realized here several weeks back, I was talking about this, and I realized that not only do I have my astrological birth sign on February the 19th, and this is what hardly nobody ever thinks about, so that I can be balanced, I also need to know what is exactly parallel, what keeps me in balance. I know that spring and fall keep each other in balance. That's it. That balances the entire ecological system on the earth, keeps it in balance. And when we find out that balance is judgment, see this Libra, this sign Libra is always, nearly in all cases, even in many stories, ancient stories, is called the scales of justice, which I really feel that probably a couple thousand years ago they twisted the idea, and actually it always meant balance, because when you put the Adam Kid Mon Man in here, this is where the pelvic bone is at, and the pelvic bone is the place of your balance. And I think there's a whole lot more going on down here in the lower extremities than we have given credit to. We've always put it down. We've always tried to say this is where we all get into corruption in our sex organs. And so it's been put down. So the gonads, we're trying to destroy them, trying to suppress them. And now then we don't have to worry too much about it, because the cell phones, the microwaves, and all the other 5G crap that's coming out, it's going to help us destroy that thing. And so time you're 30 or 40 years old, you done destroyed your sexual abilities. I mean, you know, that's serious. That hits me really heavy and hard. You know what? I've got a lot of young grandchildren, girls and boys. And you know what? I want them to be fruitful and productive, plump to 100 plus like me. I don't want them to be destroyed from their physical abilities just because of technology. I mean, I think that's dumb. To me, that's dumb. That's not smart. I don't care how smart you want to call your telephone. So when I look at my astrological wheel, I see, wait a minute now, it's not just my birth date, it's the one parallel. So I've got to come over here between Leo, the lion, and Virgo, and I have to find that I think this just hit me this week. If I look at my, I've just done that wrong. Let me do this real quickly here, y'all. I want to try it. These colors are really important, and sometimes I realize, we don't realize how important that they are, but all the ancient mythologies uses these colors, and your physical body actually uses these colors as the green refers to water, right? Everybody knows that, isn't that right? Green refers to water, and so red refers to fire. That's a common, right? Green's water, red's fire. Green, blue, aqua, whatever, but green refers to water. When my father planted the seed, that seed was basically water. In other words, material. So what did that seed represent? That seed represented spirit hijacking or riding or piggybacking itself into matter to create me, to build the temple that God was planning on living in. And then on February the 19th, when my mother pushed me out of the womb on February the 19th, then my body, to live in this arena, to live out here in this world, had to do one thing. What was that?
Breathe.
That's the first thing. That's the main thing. You want that baby to breathe, because, if the baby didn't breathe, he's got to go back and try again. You know what I'm saying? So here you go. Now look at this. Now if I'm going to know my cardinal cross, here's something that I am thinking about. I'm not saying that this is the truth, but I am saying that I know that I need to work with my cross in this fashion. So not only am I going to work with the day that my dad conceived me, I'm going to work with its parallel, its direct opposite. And I'm saying this, again, this is maybe hypothetical. I'm saying that this is something that I'm chewing on for me, myself, because I feel there is some ancient truth hid in this cross, in this ideology. But here, the wheel, astrological wheel, is always called celestial, heavenly, astrological, Elohim, so many different names to say the same thing or to say something similar. And to realize that this whole wheel of power is constantly emanating energy. I can't necessarily feel it. Sometimes maybe I can, but whether I feel it or I don't feel it doesn't mean that the energy is not present. It doesn't mean that it's not here. It's not doing what it's designed to do. And I'm saying that without a doubt, it is definitely doing what it's been designed to do.
That's why it says to take up your cross. It didn't say take up Marvin's cross or.
There you go. Thank you. That's a good confirmation of what I'm chewing on. That's a good one, right? Because if it tells me to take up my cross, this is my cross. Now, I have never heard anybody teach this like this. These things have just incrementally come upon me as I study and I research, and I'd say, wait a minute now. Trying to balance out between Aquarius and Pisces, because I carry energy from both aspects of both, because I'm on the cuff. So, and there are a lot of people born on the different cuffs. Me and Alan was talking about him being born on a cuff similar to here. Or, for instance, Annie is born, well, no, she's not on a cuff. She's right dead center in the middle, just the same way as my granddaughter, Rachel. My granddaughter, Rachel, is born here, so her astrological balance would be here in the very center between Gemini and Cancer. Annie is born exactly on the same day opposite here to my granddaughter here. Now, so Rachel's sun sign or her ascending sign would be this, whereas this would be Annie's downside. Now, I mean, the more I see this, the more I get into it, I realize we are truly all one. We are coming from the same source, the same energy, but the compilation of that energy in us makes us unique and individual. Not another like us ever in the world. That's what's so phenomenal.
That's what we were talking. Just a little side note, with Lynn doing these, I started to do some research because it was just picturing in my head. Do you realize that almost every Ferris wheel is a 12 point like that?
Wow. Yeah.
the ride the Ferris wheel,
That's,
there are 12 carriages, 12 and 12 bars on almost every one.
I like that, Jamie. I wrote that up there
I
so I
like
don't
that
forget
one.
it.
Thank you, Jamie.
That's good. That's kind of a confirmation on this idea. I'm squeezing that with that. I'll have to do some research on that and just see if that doesn't come out right, because I feel it certainly will. Now, if that's the case, what I've been sharing for weeks now about soul, the image of God, if that's the case, it would be apropos for all of us to learn our cross.
Absolutely.
If I get to know my cross, you know what I'm going to know? I'm going to know my strengths. I'm going to know my weaknesses. I'm going to know my uprising. I'm going to know my downsitting. I'm going to begin to know me. And if I begin to know me, the more I begin to know me, I'll know you. And my knowing of you would not be based in judgment and condemnation. All of Christianity is built in judgment and condemnation. They don't know any better. That's the way they're taught. That's the way we in Christianity have been taught that our God is a judgmental God. And we never have ever served a judgmental God. None of us. God is not judgmental. God is not condemning. God is long-suffering, merciful, kind. All of these attributes have always been attached to God, but yet in Christianity, we learn to embrace this critical, mean, judgmental God. You know, God the Father, we're all afraid of Him. Because He's certainly going to catch you, and He's certainly got your number. He's always got it written down. Y'all know good way. He's taking a list, He's checking it twice, and He knows if you've been naughty or nice.
The amazing thing right there is, yes, Jamie confirms what you were teaching, but Jamie also, because of her seeing a different angle of what you're plugging into, it also confirms what we've already been talking about being connected as well.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just do this like we have been doing, and they're saying now that this whole, or this what appears to be nothing right here, this is the nothing. Or, when they say, well, what is God? God is nothing. This is the nothing that produces everything. And to look at that, I don't care how small, they're trying to say that in the smallest atom or quark, that there is this vacuum. Nothing. But yet there's an intelligence in it. This is God. This is the phenomenon of God.
There's one thing I want to do too.
All right.
Okay, let me just, where we've all got our own cross, right here is where we all meet. It's
Without,
in the middle.
there you go. That makes us every one exactly alike, don't it? Exactly. That puts us every one in the same category, because from that, what would we call that? I mean, because we put a dot there, we can visually see that. We call that God. But what we've got to do, expand that concept and realize this is God. This is a manifestation of what God is. We are the manifestation of that. As that is, we are.
It is showing that, the way she just put that we are the same, yet different.
Yeah.
Yet different.
Yes. Yes. Isn't that beautiful? I mean,
We've all got our strengths, our weaknesses,
Correct.
our,
But we also have the availability of all those things to us. There are those,
Absolutely.
There are those that come naturally from the
Yeah.
situation, but you have access by going to the center to everything
Yeah, to
that is on that wheel.
Absolutely. It's absolutely. You're connected to the whole thing of the whole wheel. So whereas if you're born over here, now Celeste is born right here. Me and Celeste are exactly opposite, just like Annie and Rachel are. But yet they're the same. See, so many characteristics be the same. It's like me and Celeste were talking, so many characteristics are the same. We didn't come from the same mother or father or something, but yet we have so many characteristics. And why would that be? Well, look at the wheel. It's not hard to see when we begin to pull all of the decons in that these points represent. When I'm taking up my cross and I'm beginning to get to know my cross and I begin to live out of my cross, oh man, it just gets me phenomenal. Wow, it makes me dizzy thinking. So I put on the skin. I'm wearing this skin that you think is me, that's temporary. Just exactly like like Marvin and that preacher suit that he's got on. I'm gonna wear my tux next Sunday, bless God, I was gonna show you up.
I might show up in a tuxedo, I might show up in a tuxedo jacket, cowboy boots. and-
We'll have to do that next Sunday, Steve. We'll put our cowboy boots on, our tuxedo, and we'll put on one of them $50 shirts, you know. Oh, I gotta get one of them, things to match my shirt, hat though. Oh,
I have to
wow.
get me a bolo tie when I'm with them.
Cowboy bolo, yeah, there you go, get you a cowboy tie. All right, let's go, let me move on here. I got a lot of ground to cover in a short time to get there. Go with me to the book of Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 3. Hallelujah. Look at this passage right here in Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 3. Verse 1, it says, "Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of..." Now you can take the word partake and just totally reverse that word and put take part. Right?
Where are you leaning? Where are you?
Hebrews chapter 3, verse 1. Chapter 1. Chapter 3, verse 1. Chapter 3, verse 1. I get it right. It says, "Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers are..." Take part. Does anybody have a problem with that? Do you know, would anybody in a traditional church have a problem with that? I don't think they would, do you? Because if you are partaking of something, you're taking part with that. You know, like we got dinner on the ground, and we're going to all be partakers of dinner on the ground. Then we're all going to take part of dinner on the ground, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, yes. And so it says, "Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of" what?
The heavenly.
That's exactly the same word we just looked at over there in Corinthians. I mean exactly the same word. Eporemus. Heavenly. We are taking part of this. Why? Because we are part of that. It's not any different than us going to church and sitting down at the dinner table and partaking of that, or taking part of that. We ingest it, we take it in. That's exactly the same thing. It's saying exactly the same thing. Holy brethren, partakers of this heavenly calling. So every one of us are partaking, or we're taking part. Look at chapter 6. It gets gooder and gooder. Chapter 6. And look at verse 4. It says, verse 4 says, "For it is impossible for those who were once enlightened and have tasted of the heavenly gift." Wow. Now I'm going to say that what the writer here is referring to, because that's the same word again, I'm going to say the heavenly gift was God's deposit of me, as me, in this world. Okay? That's what I'm going to say is the reference he's talking about here. Because he begins to go on, he says, it's impossible for those who have partaken of this heavenly gift to fall away, or to backslide, or to do this, or to do that, once they've tasted this. And then all kind of different religious ideologies that argue about this chapter. But this chapter in Hebrews is a very deep and a very profound chapter when I begin to realize there's not any way I can not partake of it. I'm born this way. I am born. This is a gift God's given me. I am this heavenly gift manifested in this dimension. You are too. Hallelujah. And so what we want to do is we want to use that gift. You know, in this chapter, he begins to talk about leaving the things that we once tasted, as far as, in other words, not sucking the breast of mama any longer. It's foolish to think that we can go back, you know, and fully grown up into mama's womb and come out again. It's as foolish for us to think that we can continually nourish ourselves, nursing at mother's breast. What, you know, he said, come on, let's go on and grow up, get beyond that. Look at chapter 8, same thing, chapter 8, same thing. We'll just rush through here real quickly. Chapter 8, verse 5. "Who serves unto the example and the shadow of what? Heavenly things." Now, Moses, when he was about to build the tabernacle, Exodus chapter 28, Moses, when he was about to build the tabernacle, what did he do? He said he found the pattern in the heavens on the mountain. In other words, in a high place, Not necessarily just on top of the mountain like on Fort Mountain or Grassy Mountain, the high place. Well, this is a high place in here we're on this morning. I mean, if you can hear this, if you can resonate with this, we are in a very high place right now. We are in a place that's lifted up, that's high and lifted up in the dimension of spirit. We are visited by God. By God.
By God.
Which lifts us up, which brings us up into this place. So he said, who serves unto the example in the shadow of the heavenly things. And again, the same identical word. Epiranus. Epiranus. This just goes on in the New Testament. Exodus, Ephesians 1, Ephesians 6. Again, same thing. Heavenly places. We've been seated and we've been placed in heavenly places. We have been. I'm placed in these heavenly places. Why? These are the places of my roots. I go from here, my birth into physical, and I expand all the way back into this whole wheel. Because this is my root. It's just like James, when she puts the doctor, my roots go right back into that. And when I go back into that, I go back into all of this. All of this is as much me as I am. Even more so, because that's what lives me. That's what energizes me. That's what makes me who I am. Let me read you something here from this little book. I read this several weeks back. I think it was here. It was either here or the conference we did in Brunswick. Let me just read you this. In the tomb of Ramses, who reigned 3,500 years ago, there was found a massive circle of wrought gold divided into 365 degrees. And each division marked the rising of the setting of the stars of each day. Now this is how you get a 360 degree circle. This would count twice. So you've got a counting here, you have a counting here, you have a counting here, you have a counting here, and then you have 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. You have a counting here. So how are you going to get 365 days out of a 360 degree circle? That's exactly how you do it right there. Because this counts as a double, 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 and that counts as an extra day, the 25th. And the reason it does is because the sun dies right here. The sun no longer, it doesn't move. Days don't change, they stay exactly the same. That is, what I just added is an entire week or two of astrological teaching, science, that is it's just science, period. It can't not be debunked, it's just proven over and over. 360 degrees. And each division marked the rising and the setting of the stars of each day, according to Champollion. The tomb of Ramses V at Thebes contained tablets of the constellation and of their influences on man for every hour of every day of every month of every year. Wow. Think about that. That influence is on you and me now, all the time. The Egyptian masters taught that a mutual dependence exists between all things in the universe, ruled by one law, including a mysterious relation between the spirits of the stars and the souls of man. The destiny of mortals was regulated by the motions of the heavenly bodies, just as the moon rules the ebb and flow of the tides from the conjunction of the planets at the hour of birth. They prophesied what would be the temperament of an infant, what life it would likely live, and what death it would likely die. Is all of that written in me? And it is. It's written in you and me. And we ignore it. We don't pay attention to it. We're not taught anything about it. We know very little about it. And I know why. I can tell you exactly why I haven't. Because right out of the starting gate for me becoming a Christian, so to speak, they began to tell me that astrology was taboo. They began to tell me right out it was of the devil, that you better not get anywhere around it. They didn't even want you reading the newspaper page that had your They did not want you to do that. It was of the devil. You get tainted if you did that.
Ain't true.
Yeah, it's taboo. You would, it's voodoo. Don't mess with that. Wow. These masters 10,000 years ago knew the shape and the movement of the earth, how to calculate solar and lunar eclipses. They foretold with remarkable accuracy what was about to happen to mankind, the future, or abundance of crops. Yeah, go back in the Old Testament. You hear this same thing in the Old Testament. They knew this wisdom. They read that kind of information. You know, does the astrological wheel predict and tell us all of these things? It sure does. Even today, there are lots of people that still can do this science, that still know this science. I wish I were one, and I'm not. I mean, one that I know for a fact is extremely good at this is Santos Bonacci, and he's all over YouTube. But you know, you get the pro and the con. You get some things that you can't agree with. You get some wonderful things you can. But there are a lot of people out there that still have and maintain this science, this wisdom. They foretold with remarkable accuracy what was about to happen to mankind, the future or the abundance of crops. By means of the long continued observation, they foresaw earthquakes, deluges, rises of comets, and all the phenomena, the knowledge of which appears impossible to common comprehension. Yet modern scientists attempt to discredit the wisdom of these masters by asserting they knew nothing of the laws of physiology. Then something happened. Here, listen to this. All this mighty wisdom came to an abrupt end in the 4th century at 326 at the Nicene Council at the formation of the Catholic Church, when the cosmic to the abrupt ended. The cosmic science and the philosophy of the temples of the masters was ruthlessly destroyed. Who did that? The Christian Church, the Catholic Church, Council of Nicaea. Then from that point forward, they went about for nearly 1,000 to 1,200 years, plundering the entire earth, burning all the material that said anything contrary to what they were trying to establish, and that was they're trying to establish a historicity of this cosmic movement. They were trying to give the sun a name of a person. They were trying to give these 12 posts, the name of men, etc., etc. And they did. They did. They conquered. They got you and me.
Well, the amazing thing is that the Vatican, they've got a whole lot of that material.
I'd say they got all the main pieces of
They've
it.
got, so that they can sit here and understand what they're battling, what they want to control.
Look at their garb. If you look at their garb, if you look at the hats that they wear, the robes that they wear, the instruments that they wear, the scepter that they have, it's every bit of it this. They know this science. They don't want you and me to know this science. They know the power of this science. And as long as they can keep us dumbed down from it, then they control us with this science. And that's the way it is. That's just a fact. Let me read you a note that I wrote here a few weeks back. It says, the masters knew so much about the science of man that they listed the 4 kingdoms on which man's existence rests at its corners. And these 4 kingdoms, they actually compile in the compilation of this book we call the Bible, the 4 Gospels. And the 4 Gospels are actually built on these 4 points. And that would be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And so the Gospels are actually built on this. Taurus is the servant, the ox. The ox is a servant to mankind. That's the theme of the Gospel of Mark. The theme of Mark's Gospel, it even tells you in it, is the servant of man. Jesus came to be the servant of man. Matthew's Gospel is, I came to be the king. And there comes back to what Steve was quoting from the book of Revelation. So the whole theme of Matthew's Gospel, even though Matthew and Luke are laid on top of each other, the theme to the Gospel of Matthew is the king. Leo the lion, king of the beasts. John's Gospel is esoteric. It's not literal. It's about flying. It's about doing things that are heavenly or that are upward. It's about the eagle. The eagle that lives above, that has two natures, that can see from miles and miles up in the air and can see right here close. So John's gospel is based on Scorpio, the eagle. Luke's gospel is man. He's the story of man. Luke is not even a Hebrew. Why, and one of the prerequisites that the Catholic Church said for it to become a gospel, he had to be an eyewitness to Jesus, and not only that, he had to be a Hebrew. Luke was a Greek physician. He didn't even know Jesus. Never even heard of Jesus. And there you have Luke's gospel in your Bible. And Jamie looks at me like, what? I never heard that. It's just everywhere there. Luke was a Greek physician. It even tells you that. He was a good friend of so-called Paul, or Apollonius. So there's your four gospels, or four corner points. You can actually give these four corner points the theme of air, fire, earth, and water, because they all fit. Those are the building blocks to build humanity, to build man. So man's existence rests on these four corners. Every one of us are built off of these four corners. The four corners of the zodiac, the ancient astrological 12-spoke wheel of powers. In other words, the Hebrew Elohim. In other words, the gods. The gods, I can't say that enough. Elohim means gods. S. They put it in there many, many times. God, not singular. So, but is not God singular? Yes, Jamie nailed it right there. That's singular. Does it carry the concept of 12? Well, of course it does. 12 comes out. Does it carry the concept of everything beyond 12? Of course it does. It's all and in all. Incorporates and encompasses everything. That's how God can be all and in all. That's how God can be everywhere and nowhere. Those are all conundrums that are hard for us to grasp and to grapple with. There's so much, and I appreciate Steve. I remember many people have said, I just can't read the Bible. I said, I do understand it, and I don't encourage it toward anybody. I can't get away from it, because for me, I constantly extract things that are so clear, and yet it's been so muddled and so messed up and so muddied up. I find these nuggets that are still hidden in it that are just treasures abound. They just abound for us. Just the things that I just shared. Does that upset me that Luke was not an apostle? No, it doesn't upset me a bit. A lot of people would get all bent out of shape. Whoa, no, what is this? It doesn't me, because I realize they're following the pattern. Go back to the pattern. You see it in Ezekiel. You'll see it in Daniel. Daniel saw it in the king. In Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel saw all four of these kingdoms. Ezekiel saw the wheel within the wheel, and named all four of these kingdoms, every one of them. So it's just all, it's there, it's everywhere. It is thought that the ancient masters prepared the zodiacal wheel as a secret. But the truth be made known, it was common knowledge. It was studied day by day. My thinking, Lynn Hayes, is that it was available to all people at all places every day of existence. The idea of it being secret knowledge is because the Roman Church did everything it could to destroy this ancient wisdom and thereby rob humanity from this wisdom in order that they might disempower humankind from their relationship with their true God. In other words, the zodiacal wheel of power, or in other words, Elohim, the Father of all. This wheel of powers taught humankind about his or her relationship with it. With it. We go back, if we're going to look at the gospel, we're going to look at Jesus, we're going to say, Jesus said, well, don't pray this way, pray this way. How does that? Do I pray to Jesus in Jesus' name? No, he said, pray to the Father. The source. And then the Catholic Church comes back and says, no, it's wrong for you to call any man your father, to call God your father. This wheel of powers taught humankind about his or herself and its relationship to God, the gods, and about his or herself. Thus the phrase above, the temple at Delphi, know thyself and you will know the gods. The more you know you, the more you know your cardinal cross, the more you're going to know the gods. Because the more that you get connected to your points, you're going to connect yourself to the whole wheel. Even though the points of your cardinal cross, the points of your cross, will minister more to you. The cycles of, let's see. By studying the zodiac or the astrological wheel of powers, we will begin to understand the origin of the spirit monads and comprehend the cycles of involution of the gods. Involution. God involuted, that means God fell or dove or descended through my father's seed into my mother's womb. Why? So that after gestation for 9 months, it could evolve through me. So God involved or involuted so that God could evolve, so that God could arise. Now, all God's looking for is just a vessel. And we are the vessel. But it's not just looking for a vessel, looking for a vessel to yield. And I tell you right now, that's not easy. When you feel that God's saying, go right, and you said, oh, we're going left. God, and you know, that has to become a self-discipline. That has to become something that you have to work it out yourself.
But you go left so many times, you'll eventually get to where he was trying to take you to on the way.
Exactly. Sure, you'll come full circle, won't you? You'll find your way. And that's the truth. And that is hard. You have a child, or you have a loved one, or you have one that you know they're going the wrong path. You're knowing that what they're doing don't serve them. Or does it? We have not got enough faith, and I don't really want to use that word, and I can't think of a better word. We don't trust. Let me use that word, trust. We don't really have enough trust in the God we are and the God that's within us as to trust what God can do within. And I'm talking to me. I'm talking to me.
Isn't that a shame that the church has polluted the word faith where you feel uncomfortable using it?
I know.
Because what it really means is the same as your word trust.
Trust.
But the church has polluted it so much.
And that's the truth. That's why I'm quickened to do it, because I more and more I study, the more and more I see, the more and more I research, the more distaste I have for the era that I've been taught, that I taught. You know, and I come back and I think, God, I did that. I embraced that. And so I can't throw a stone.
Embraced it, espoused it, taught it,
Yeah.
infused it.
Okay, so God, the cycles of involution of the gods, that's what I'm showing you, the cycle. These are the cycles where God's constantly involuting, descending, coming in, catching a hop on Daddy's seed to create me. You know, that's a phenomenal thing. Just, you can go on the internet, you can Google this. That seed comes in here, and within 22 days, within 22 days, 22, there's 22 numbers in the Hebrew alphabet, plus 5, what's called finals. 22 letters. In 22 days, this little thing begins to pulse. And the only way that they know that it's pulsing is through the what's that little thing they put on it, like a micro...
The sonogram?
Yeah, sonogram. They can see it. It's so faint you can't hear it. 22nd day, boom. Is there any correlation to that Hebrew 22 number and this? You know good and well they are, yeah. Yeah, do you know the moment that seed comes in here, immediately within 24 hours, it has built the 7 endocrine glands, especially from the brain. The heart has not yet become a vital organ in that little embryo. That heart doesn't become a vital organ until the 22nd day, and then it begins to pulse. But that brain is actually, what is that? That's the psyche, the suki. That's the soul. That's the word for soul. Suki, sukiology, psychology. That's where we get the word psychology. There's an information. You're born with this information in you. You're born to know. We're born and we should begin to know. That's the involution. God only involves so that God can evolve. And the evolution has nothing to do with us coming from a monkey. That's dumb. That's dumb, but people have embraced that idea. I hear smart, intelligent scientists still embracing that whole ideology. Say, well, yeah, 50, 60 million years ago, we were monkeys. Then I wonder how come the monkeys that still monkeys ain't humans.
Yeah.
I mean, hello. Just certain special monkeys come us. No, that's dumb. No, God involuted, come in, so that God could evolute, grow it out through us. And that's exactly what God is doing. That's what's happening to you and me, and through us, through you and me, this day and time. So, they knew how the fate of mankind would ebb and flow, the mysteries of the tide, the in and out, between light, day, and darkness, night. They knew the secret in the movement of the moon. To me, it's so ignorant for us to look at the sun and the moon and the stars and know that they totally affect nature, and yet divorce myself from nature thinking I'm not a part of nature. If the sun and the moon affects the tide of the ocean, I have to realize it's affecting me as much as it is that. But if I learn the ebb and flow of it, if I learn the move of it, if I learn the dance of it, I embrace it. Wow, it would evolve me to the supernatural creature that I am supposed to be. So they knew the secret of the movement of the moon, the sun, the stars, the earth. They knew astronomy through the astrological expression. And they knew that the astrological expression, this was the golden key. And the secret is not a secret anymore, because this is in you and me. So the secret is it's hid inside you. You can't go somewhere looking for it. You can't go down to Jerusalem and find it, because you are it. So the secret is not where it's in certain hidden script, or you got to be blindfolded for 3 days, or you got to join some secret club. The secret is it's deposited inside you and me. You and I, we are the secret. We are the manifestation of that. So, hallelujah. I'm just going to quit right here. Just disconnect, and we'll just say to be continued.